Hello everyone, welcome back to the homestead. If you are new to our channel, we're a family of 9 and we're working on building a home and homestead on 20 acres here in the Ozarks of Missouri, and we're a zone 6. I just realized this morning that we've actually lived in Missouri for 10 years now, which is amazing to think about. And actually in those 10 years, I would say of all the months of the year, August has always been the most predictable. Wouldn't you say? It's almost always hot, it doesn't rain, and it's very humid. So we pretty much just stay away from the garden and only go out if we have to in August. But this year's been completely different. It's much cooler, we've had a lot of rain, so we've been taking advantage of this nice weather and trying to get a lot of garden projects done. In today's video, we're going to talk about some of the garden projects that we've been working on for this month of August. Besides all the harvesting and preserving, if you want to know more about that, check out last week's video. So today's video is everything but the harvesting and preserving. And just in case you are wondering if Esther grew 6 inches since the last video, she's actually standing on a little bench here.
No, I'm not that tall yet.
Not that tall yet, yeah. She's gonna be that tall before we know it though. Yeah, we just put her up on the bench there so that we can both be in the frame here together. So the first big thing we've been working on is reclaiming our garden pathways. So pulling the weeds out of them and putting down pea gravel. And then we're also building a whole new garden space and doing pea gravel pathways in that space as well. So we're really thankful for the load of pea gravel that we recently got. The little ones have been having fun playing in it, and so has our new calf, who we call Sailor. One of the first mornings after the load of pea gravel was dumped, he was out while the kids were milking his mama, and he found that pile and just couldn't get enough of it. It was so fun watching him play on that pea gravel mound. Before we move on to the next project, we actually did a whole video on garden pathways. So if you're interested in why we're using peat gravel and some of the other pathways that we use for our garden spaces, I'll try and link that video for you, and if you're interested, check it out. So the next project that is a daily event that we constantly are tackling is weed war. The weed war in Missouri is for real, and so we really never win the war, but as long as we keep at it and keep working on things every single day, except for Shabbat, except for our day of rest, then we feel like at least maybe next year won't be quite as bad. How tall do you think that weed is there, Josh?
6 foot at least, and it's even broken here at the top.
Oh, the top's even off, yeah. So before you can weed eat at this point of the year, you have to come through and chop a bunch of stuff, huh?
Yep, chopper. I think this one's going to be fairly easy to pull out. Yep, there it is.
Oh, that one just pulled right out. Nice.
Yeah, it's so wet in here.
Because it's so wet. So he's going to try and clean up the driveway here a little bit. Hopefully, mostly using the weed eater, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
The main thing I've been doing as far as the weed war is pulling pokey weeds around the compost.
Yeah, a few years back we got some bad hay and it had a whole bunch of pokey pigweed in it, and it has since spread all over the place, and every year we're burning it, mowing it, pulling it by hand, everything we can do to try and knock out that pokey pigweed. One day we hope to have sheep and maybe they'll take it out for us, but in the meantime it's a lot of work, and so we're just kind of choosing the areas that are most important to clear that weed from, and one of those is around our winter compost heap from all the winter barn muck. We want to make sure and not get any of that seed into our compost pile. So Esther and J-Bud
And
Nathan and Josh have all been working together to try and keep those weeds away from our compost heap. And that brings us to the next project, and that was to repile our compost heap because the cows and the birds on the pasture basically spread it out to almost nothing. And it wasn't a heap anymore. So thankfully my husband Kip was able to borrow a friend's tractor one afternoon, and he came and got it all piled back up into a nice pile again. Our hope is to be able to actually build bins that we can put all that compost in. But we're not there yet. So for now, we're really thankful for that tractor because it saved us hours and hours and hours of work trying to repile that by hand. The next project we usually don't tackle until September, but this year, because it's so much cooler this month, so we decided to get a head start on redoing the strawberry beds. I talked a little bit about that in last week's video. What I'm using this year that's different is I grew some Piper Sudan grass to work as straw. We've got 4 main strawberry beds, and what we like to do in the fall, or in this case summertime, is refresh the beds. So we kind of thin them out and spread the new plants, the new strawberry runner plants around evenly in the bed, pull all the weeds, and then I like to put a fresh layer of compost down. And this year I put a layer of the dried Piper Sudan grass down as a mulch in place of straw, because we don't really have a good source of chemical-free straw in our area. So I'm hopeful that that's going to work well, and that in the future we can grow even more Sudan grass for that purpose, and hopefully we won't have as many rotten strawberries. When the strawberries touch the ground and are not kind of lifted up by some kind of mulch, they tend to rot. So hopefully that'll be a good system for our strawberries. So we have 1 strawberry bed down and 3 more to go.
So another project my mom likes to do this time of year is walk around the garden and take notes on what to change next year.
All throughout the growing season, I'm constantly thinking of things that I want to change, do differently, and then I also like to make sure I write down what we grew where, so the next year I know better what to plant in the different spaces. And actually this year, while I was taking my notes, I forgot like what we grew even this spring in a lot of the beds, so I had to bring Esther out to help remind me what we grew where. We don't do a whole lot of crop rotation, but we do try and do that for certain crops especially, and so I like to make sure I write that down so that it helps me in the next year's planning. Alright, so the next project, kind of related to walking the whole garden and taking notes, is to make my seed list for the next year. So I go through all of my seeds and make sure that I get a list made for anything that we've run out of or any new items that I want to try for the next year. And that way, once we have the finances and it's time to order seeds again, I know exactly what I need and I can just get that order in right away. Seed saving is another project that we usually do a lot of in the month of August, but because of how wet it's been, we haven't been able to do much yet. Some hopeful things will dry out here soon and we can go back to seed saving. Next project is a big one, fall planting. This is not something I normally do in August. It's just way too hot, and a lot of those fall crops like it cool, and so I have tried doing starts in August before, and my little broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage sprouts have just withered in the heat. But this year I tried something new. We have a good friend that's got a kitchen window that gets a pretty good amount of light, so I weeded some starts and put them on a table in front of that window there, and they did really well at first, but then they started getting spindly and not really growing anymore. So we just brought them back home, and I accidentally left them in a shady location beside the house, but it was right under the drip edge of our gutter, and we've had some major storms lately, so
that we didn't even know were coming.
Yeah, some unexpected storms. Just the other morning, I went out to check on them, and over half of them were completely just a mess because of the water that came off of our gutters. So anyway, Esther helped me kind of salvage some of them. So we lost about probably 40% of our fall starts, but we're not going to give up. We're going to go ahead and replant some of the brassicas, even though there might not be enough time. I plan on putting row covers over those beds, so hopefully we can extend the season by a couple weeks to a month, and we'll see. It's always kind of a risk trying to grow fall crops here in Missouri because we have hot temperatures that go all the way into September, and then our first frost can be October, and then it can get very, very cold by November. There's not much of a window of opportunity for growing things like brassicas and some of your typical fall crops. And today we're hoping to get out and plant some carrots, even though it's almost a month late for the carrots. Again, I'm hoping that having the row cover will help extend the season for us so that we can still get some good carrots. And we're growing just really small varieties.
Yeah, I already did that one. I already did that one.
The next project in August is a lot of pruning of our sweet potatoes. Our sweet potato vines get quite crazy and out of control in August, and we like to prune them back to about 3 feet from the plants because then we don't have as many little teeny tiny baby sweet potatoes all over our pathways growing, and it kind of focuses more energy back to the main plant and to the main crop. This year we've actually had one of our calves helping to prune them for us. During milking time, the 2 calves get to go up and down the driveway and just kind of munch, and so they've been helping to prune one of the beds of sweet potatoes. But the other beds they don't have access to, so we've got to get out there and prune those very soon. How's it coming in this viney jungle, Josh?
Coming actually pretty good.
Good. Getting a big load of sweet potato vines here for the geese. Looks like we've got some weeding to do too in this bed. And a bunch of weeding to do on the swale. Can hardly see the plants anymore. There's an autumn joyceum, some garlic chives, and a bunch of weeds. Beautiful day, huh?
Yeah.
I'm excited to get out here and work finally on this cool day. It's only like high of 77 today. Just amazing for August, huh?
Yeah. Almost miraculous.
Yeah, for sure. And then what we like to do with the sweet potato clippings is give them to the cows. The cows love them. The geese love them. And then you can actually cook them like spinach and use them as a green for your own meals as well. But we don't do that very often, huh?
No, not really.
Yeah, we prefer our cooked chard and kale, things like that. And honestly, in the summertime, we do just a whole lot of other summer vegetables. So we don't do a lot of the sweet potato vines, but they are edible.
The last project is something we actually haven't done enough of.
Yeah.
Which is making bouquets, which we should really make some more. If we
Yes.
can do that today.
Yeah, hopefully we
Okay.
can get to that today.
Yeah, and we have a lot of dahlias and zinnias and mist flower and stuff like that blooming right now. So
Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful flowers in the garden. We love to see them in the garden, but it's so fun when we can bring them into the house too and brighten up the house. So we should do that today. At least make one bouquet.
yeah.
As long as we don't get rained out, we'll see. Well guys, that's about it for the August garden projects. We probably missed a few, but those are the main things we've been working on lately. Thank you so much for joining us on the homestead again. Real quick before we go, Nathan has a thank you to give.
Thank you so much to Larry B for all the many tools and adding this one to my collection. Thank you.
Truly a blessing, huh? Getting all that you need for your shop set up. Because what are you hoping to do?
Well, I'm hoping if I can build furniture and tables and chairs and stuff like that.
Great. And then probably do some just side jobs of carpentry, helping here and there with people building things, huh? Thank you, as always, to our patrons who make these videos possible. We appreciate you guys so very much. Until next time, we pray blessings over you and yours. And whatever you do, do it with your whole heart.